Okay, this is my favorite meme, and since I'm a biologist, I had to share it. So it really hits home when we look at this. If you kill a preborn sea turtle, it's a $100,000 fine and 1 year in prison. If you kill a preborn bald eagle, $250,000 fine and 2 years in prison. But if you kill a preborn human baby, no penalty. I just thought that was really impactful, and it says it all pretty much, where we're at in our society today. Abortion is murder, and we probably need to stop calling it abortion. It's just a clean way of saying murder. And life begins at conception. I don't think there's any question that life begins at conception. And there's actually lots of studies out there, and I mean, how do you beat science? Science is science. And, you know, there's a quote, this is a Princeton University, just one study I found, and they said there's absolutely no question whatsoever that the immediate product of fertilization is a newly existed human being. So I don't think this is the question. The question is, when do we kill that human being? When is it okay to kill that human being? And I think a lot of us have used the word pro-life loosely. I know I have in the past. I've never really thought so much about it since I got into the legislature. And so what I've determined is there's two types of pro-life. There's a secular pro-life, and there's a biblical pro-life. And with the secular pro-life, basically man gets to decide when it's okay to kill that baby. Whether it's a Supreme Court saying 24 weeks, or it's all the legislators saying, heartbeat bill, or, well, rape or incest, then it's okay. All of those cases are man saying, yeah, it's okay to kill under these circumstances. If you're biblical pro-life, there are no circumstances for murder. We are not to murder. And so to end all abortions without exception is the biblical pro-life view. And I'd like to challenge you, those of you here who are Christians, to really think about that and let that sink in. Are we secular pro-lifers? Where do we stand on this issue? And it is a big issue. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about the bill. I'm not a lawyer, full disclosure. Hey, sorry, John. So that is the length of the bill. It's not a really long bill, and it's a page and a half, maybe close to 2 pages. And we're going to just go through it because I think it's important that you know what this bill does and how it works. And it's not that hard, believe it or not. So I've cut it up into sections. This bill is on the website, abolishabortionid.com. So the first section, this is just legal mumbo jumbo is what I call it. It's just a summation of the topic. It's all formal, and you just got to make sure that it doesn't say anything it shouldn't, but it really doesn't have anything much to do with the actual content of the bill. So then we move to the next section. And this is section 1 of the bill. It's the very beginning of the bill. And what this is the legislative intent of the bill. And the purpose, it tells the purpose of the legislation. And actually this section doesn't go into the code. They keep this in the legislative library if the bill passes. They keep it in the library, and they can look it up if there was ever a question what the intent was. So I'm just going to go through the legislative intent so you know the intent of our legislation. And it's the intent of the legislation is to protect the Idaho state government and any political subdivision in Idaho from being directed by any federal law or federal court opinion to allow abortions in Idaho. It's really simple. And then we talk about why. Why are we saying this? Why? Because it's contrary to Section 1, Article 1 of the Idaho State Constitution. John hit that. Why? Because it's contrary to Section 2 and 18, Article 1 of the state constitution. And then one more thing we add in there, that the Idaho criminal law currently treats the killing of a human fetus as unlawful. I don't know if that really sunk in, but we in our state law say, yeah, fetus is a baby, to kill the fetus is murder, but we're going to look the other way if it's a doctor or a mother doing it. That's what Idaho's code already says. Okay, so that's section 1. So section 2 of the bill, what we start with here is by repealing what the law actually does currently. So it just says this repeals section 184016 of the Idaho Code. It's hereby repealed. That 184016 of the code basically says, yeah, you get an exemption if the fetus is killed by a mother or a doctor. We get rid of that. Let's start over. So that's what section 2 does. Okay, so then section 3 of the bill, pretty easy. It's the new section, and it's the name of the bill. And we basically are replacing that old section with this new section. And it says that you can call this bill, what's it say? Abortion, it's called, it may be known and cited as the Abortion Human Rights Act. So we named it because that way people can talk about it if they don't give us a bill number like they didn't last year. People can talk about the bill. It is a human right, so we want that in there. So then we do some definitions. We define abortion, and abortion is the intentional killing of an unborn human being. And then we talk about conception. It means fertilization of an egg. I know these probably seem basic to most of you guys, but that's kind of, you got to put that in there. And then an unborn human being, it means the offspring of human beings from the moment of conception. So we're really just narrowing in on those definitions so there's no question what we're referring to. Okay, this little piece is the meat of the bill. This is the whole enchilada, I think they say. It basically says murder by abortion is going to be illegal, period. I'll read it. It's section 3, part 3, and it just, part 3 of section 3, and it says, it shall be unlawful for any person to perform, procure, or attempt to perform an abortion. That seems pretty simple. Yeah. No more abortions. Yeah. So that teeny piece is really what does it right there. Okay, so we'll go on. Part 4. You got to give some direction to all the people that are used to this judicial supremacy stuff that Scott talked about. So this one basically says, we're going to enforce this state law, not the supremacy of the federal government. So it basically says, it directs the Attorney General and the prosecutors to actually enforce that little section, that meat of the law, contrary to what the federal government says. And that's really all it does. I can read it, but I don't know that I will. It says that Attorney General shall direct the state agencies to enforce this in relation to abortion, regardless or contrary or conflicting federal statutes, regulations, executive orders, or court decisions, just like marijuana, right? If we can do it for that, we'd probably do it for guns. Aren't we going to do it for babies? Okay. Okay, part 5. Mothers can still get immunity. Now, this isn't some type of a loophole. I don't want you to think that. All prosecuting attorneys shall have the authority to extend immunity. Now, they already do. They have the authority to extend immunity to anyone by just not prosecuting stuff. But to a mother, when she assists in the investigation or prosecution of a person for conduct related to the abortion that killed her unborn human being. Okay, part 6. We're almost done. There's only 8 parts. So, part 6, what's the question you always hear? What about the life of the mother, right? And there's a ton of statistics, and I always tell people you don't have to know all the details to just go do the basics. But this takes care of that argument. What about the life of the mother? It says any medical practitioner attempting to save the life of a pregnant patient which the attempts result in the unintended death of the unborn human being shall not be found guilty. So, I mean, if the doctor goes in there and maliciously kills a baby, that's murder. But he's trying to save the mother and needs to separate out that baby. He's going to try to keep that baby. We don't want him to murder that baby. There's no benefit to killing a baby before they're delivered. And most doctors, they take that oath and they want to protect both. They want to protect all life. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, part 7 and 8. What about all the mothers? You hear that thing, well, we can't do this. There's so many mothers out there. It's so sad. Well, this is not retroactive. What we're doing is, this only goes into effect once it starts, and the bill is setting a standard from the day it passes and goes into effect on, that we don't want murder in our state. And when we set that standard, then people that want to violate the law, then that's when the law goes into effect, not anything or any past. And we only control law within our state. So, and that's part 7 and 8. They kind of